Today we'll continue that chapter, groundwater hydrology. In the last class, we discussed about different aquifer parameters. Now we are continuing this storage coefficients. Okay, and some of the aquifer parameters that we discussed in the last class. Today we'll discuss the remaining portion of this aquifer parameters. Okay, in the last class, porosity, recharge and discharge, specific yield, specific tension, these things we discussed. Okay, and today class we'll discuss about hydraulic conductivity, transmissivity, storage coefficient, okay, or storativity. Hydraulic conductivity. As you know, hydraulic conductivity, as the name suggests, the conductivity means how easily a fluid can pass through a porous medium. That is called hydraulic conductivity. You can see here that these are the loose soil and this is the hard dense soil. Okay, if its soil is loose, then it will be easy to flow and the permeability will be very high. Dense soil means it's difficult to flow because the pore space is less, and so there will be difficult to flow, and the permeability will be very low. So if permeability is low, then hydraulic conductivity will be low. Hydraulic conductivity depends upon the permeability. Okay, permeability means that depends upon only the soil, but the hydraulic conductivity depends upon the soil and the fluid properties both. Soil properties means void ratio, grain size distributions. Okay, fluid properties means density, viscosity. So this hydraulic conductivity is calculated using this formula, that is in K into gamma divided by mu. That is K, this small k is intrinsic permeability, which is nothing but that permeability. That always we talk about this permeability. This is intrinsic permeability. Why it is called intrinsic? Because it depends upon only the porous medium. Okay, it depends upon the soil property only. This intrinsic property, this K, which is CD square. Okay, there are many empirical equations are there to determine this intrinsic permeability, which is CD10 square. Usually D10. The D10 means the uniformity, the 10% uniform. Okay, 10% uniformity coefficient. So this CD square, K is CD square, or K is called intrinsic permeability. Rho is density, mu is dynamic viscosity, gamma is specific weight or specific density concern. This gamma is nothing but rho g. Okay, rho g divided by, this is, I can write K into rho g divided by mu. So rho is the density, mu is the coefficient of dynamic viscosity. So these are the fluid properties, rho, mu and gamma. These are the fluid properties, but K, which is CD square, it is only the soil properties. So this is the difference between this hydraulic conductivity and the intrinsic permeability, or which we say usually permeability. This hydraulic conductivity is temperature dependent, viscosity dependent, changes with change in structure, dimensions depends on flux and gradient, time is also a component. But this intrinsic permeability is independent of the temperature. It is independent of the fluid viscosity, means fluid properties. Okay, unless the liquid itself changes soil structure. Okay, unless it changes the soil structure, it is independent of fluid viscosity. It changes only in the change in the structure, soil particle arrangement. Okay, the dimensions are length square, which is the unit of area. Time is not a component. So here the time is not a component. It mainly depends upon the soil properties. But here, this hydraulic properties depends upon both fluid and soil properties. Next, come to this porosity and permeability. Here you can say, here this figure in the left side, you can see here there is no pore space. The porosity is very low. Here there is pores, okay, but here there is no connection between the pores. that connectiveness of pores required for the fluid to flow. Therefore, here although porosity is high, but the permeability, or you can say hydraulic conductivity, will be very low because there is no connectiveness of these pores. Unlike here there is pores and there is connectiveness of these pores. There is connection between the interconnection between the pores. If there is interconnection, then fluid can flow easily. Okay, so here porosity is more and hydraulic conductivity or permeability is more. Okay, so you can say this left side we can say non-porous, non-permeability. This middle portion you can say porous, non-permeable, and this right portion you can say porous, permeable. So porosity means the porosity percent of the total volume, that is voids. Percent of voids in the soil. So permeability means connectedness of voids or ability to transmit fluids. Ability to transmit voids. How the voids are connected, that is important for permeability. Okay, so you can say the clay, for an example, clay and sand. Clay porosity is very high compared to sand, but clay there is no connectiveness of these pores, so the permeability or the hydraulic conductivity of the clay is very less. In sand, porosity is less, but conductivity, hydraulic conductivity, and permeability is more. Here, this is one example when rainfall occurs. Okay, this is the sandy loam soil and this is the clay loam soil, and this is the depth. Okay, 0 meter, here 1 meter and 2 meter. This is the depth of the soil. So here we can see, although there is some lateral dispersion of this water, but towards the depth it is very less. Means water flows very less, but here water passes easily. Okay. In same time period, constant time period, you can see the water flows very less depth here in clay loam, but in sandy loam, water depth passes is very more. So it's and lateral is less. Laterally, in lateral direction it is less, but here in clay loam lateral direction it is more. So it means the hydraulic conductivity in clay is less compared to sandy loam. Sandy loam hydraulic conductivity is more. See, this is a typical example where hydraulic conductivity can be differentiated into soil, sandy and clay soil. Next is the experimental determination. How experimentally you can find that this hydraulic conductivity. This is the Darcy's experiment. This is the Darcy's experiment. This is the Darcy's equation. Okay. This discharge is equal to K into A into HL by L. HL by L is called, that is the change in hydraulic head per unit length. That is called hydraulic gradient. That is called hydraulic gradient. HL by L is called hydraulic gradient. HG. Hydraulic gradient. So this here you can say in the experiment, this is the pipe where water is supposed to flow, and here the A is the cross-sectional area of this pipe, and Q let the discharge which is flowing in the this pipe, and here these are the two piezometers. Okay, just to measure this piezometric head. Here and here, the difference between these two head is HL. So this HL per unit length, for the length of these 2 points, okay, is called hydraulic gradient. Into area will give you into K, that is permeability or hydraulic conductivity, will give you the Q, that is discharge. Okay, if discharge can be determined from this tank, from where water we are supplying, you know, in the experiment there must be one scale here. One scale must be fitted here. Okay, so there will be reading here. There will be reading. Okay, from here you can measure the change in height, the change in depth. Okay, area of the tank must be known, and change in depth per unit time. If you fix some particular time, like 5 seconds or 10 seconds, if you fix, like 10 seconds, when 10 seconds, how much water is flowing into the tank. Okay, that change in depth, okay, means how much water is passing to this pipe, means a change in the depth per unit time into area of the tank will give you the change in volume per unit time, which is the discharge. So discharge can be determined from here, from this tank. The discharge can be determined here, and area of the pipe is known, and this hydraulic gradient, if we can determine from here, then the K, that is hydraulic conductivity, can be calculated using this formula. Okay, so this is the experimental determination of hydraulic conductivity. And this hydraulic conductivity is same, if it is same in any area of the aquifer, then it is called homogeneous area. The area is classified according to hydraulic conductivity, homogeneous area and heterogeneous area. If it is same in any area, in all area of the aquifer, then it is called homogeneous. If there is difference of hydraulic conductivity in aquifer, then it is called heterogeneous area. So by moving direction of groundwater flow, if the hydraulic conductivity is same in all direction in the groundwater, if it is same in all direction, then it is called isotropic. If there is change in or the difference in the hydraulic conductivity in any one direction, okay, then it is called anisotropic. Okay, so it depends upon the direction of the groundwater flow and the hydraulic conductivity. So this isotropic and anisotropic is it is classified. Okay, next is the same, that means how particle size for different particle size and sorted of the particles changes the hydraulic conductivity. Here you can say the fine particles, this particle and this particle, these are fine particles, and these are the coarse particles. So if fine to coarse, then the hydraulic conductivity increases. And if it is the poorly sorted and well sorted material, this is the poorly sorted is the well sorted. Well sorted means uniform size. Means the size of the particles are uniform. One that is called uniform graded soil. Poorly sorted means there will mix up smaller and larger particles. That is called well graded. Okay, so these are the well graded, and this is the uniformly graded or well sorted. It is called well sorted. So in this case, in this well sorted, there will be more gaps because there is no smaller materials to fill these gaps. So there will be more porosity. So there will be more hydraulic conductivity. But in this case, when there is a poorly sorted, means a mix of different sizes of materials, the gaps are filled by smaller particles. So there will be zero voids, means less voids. Okay, so in this poorly sorted, voids are will be less, so hydraulic conductivity will be less. Okay, so here hydraulic conductivity increases when shortness of this particles increases. Okay, so next is the hydraulic conductivity of different materials: gravel, sand, silt, glacier till, clay. You can see the clay hydraulic conductivity is very less. Its porosity is more, but clay hydraulic conductivity, its water retaining capacity is more. Like we discussed in the last class, water drawing capacity, water yielding capacity is very less. Water retaining capacity is very more. Porosity is more, water retaining capacity is more, but water yielding capacity is less. So permeability or hydraulic conductivity is very less. So in the sand and gravel, hydraulic conductivity is very high, although it is porosity is less. Okay, these are the different solid rocks. Okay, metamorphic rock, mudstone, different solid rocks, limestone, sandstones. Okay, the different the solid rocks, this hydraulic conductivity is given. You can see the mudstone, unfractured igneous and metamorphic rock is very less. But here limestone, fractured volcanic rock, these are the fractured rocks. So the permeability, the hydraulic conductivity will be more. Next parameter is transmissivity. Okay, transmissivity nothing but is the discharge through thickness of the aquifer. The discharge through thickness of aquifer per unit width per unit head gradient. Per unit head gradient. It is the product of conductivity and thickness. This transmissibility is similar to this permeability. Only difference is that here, this cube you can see here, this is the hydraulic gradient. Okay, this is the hydraulic gradient to 1 meter per 1 meter. Okay, in this direction. This is the aquifer, combining aquifer, and this area is 1 meter and 1 meter. Okay, so the discharge which is coming out of this or flowing out of this this area, this 1 meter square meter area, okay, for unit hydraulic gradient. If the hydraulic gradient is 1 meter per 1 meter, okay, the volume of water, or you can say discharge flowing in this 1 meter into 1 meter under a hydraulic gradient of 1 meter or 1 meter, it is called conductivity or a hydraulic gradient, hydraulic conductivity. Okay. So if transmissibility means the volume, or you can say discharge of water flowing on area 1 meter into B under hydraulic gradient of 1 meter per 1 meter. Means for 1 meter thickness, if it is flowing, okay, with 1 meter width per unit width, it is called hydraulic conductivity. For whole thickness, for the B thickness, okay, under unit width, but whole thickness. Let's B is the thickness. For this B thickness, the water flowing or the discharge flowing, which is called transmissibility. So for 1 meter, it is K. For B meter, it is B into K. Okay. So transmissibility is K into B. That is permeability or hydraulic conductivity means that is K. Okay. Hydraulic conductivity into thickness. Means the discharge flowing in the entire thickness per unit width under unit hydraulic gradient. Okay. The discharge through thickness of the aquifer per unit width per unit hydraulic gradient is called transmissibility. Okay. This is just a similar example. Transmissibility is the rate at which means that is the discharge which geologic material transmits groundwater, okay, through a unit prism. Unit prism means that one unit hydraulic gradient and unit width that extends through the aquifer entire thickness. Okay, that extends through the aquifer the entire thickness. That is called transmissibility. It is equal to K into B. K is hydraulic conductivity, B is the aquifer thickness. Okay. So the property of the characteristic of the hydraulic conductivity and the transmissibility is same. Like similarly, means here for less porous, the transmissibility will be less. For high porous material, and the transmissibility will be more. Okay, like this, like that we discussed in the hydraulic conductivity portion, it is same for the transmissibility portion. Next is the storage coefficient or storativity. Storage coefficient is defined as the volume of water that an aquifer releases from or takes into storage per unit surface area of an aquifer per unit change in the component of head normal to that surface. Okay, so try to understand this definition. Here in this figure, you can understand, you can say that per unit, let this the area, this is the soil body. Okay, in area is unit 1 meter square. It's saying that volume of water that an aquifer releases or taken into storage. Okay, either coming out, releasing out of this groundwater storage or entering into the groundwater storage, whatever it be. Per unit surface area of aquifer, per unit change in the component of head normal to that storage means per unit change in the depth. Indirectly, you can say per unit change in the depth. Okay, let we are extracting groundwater here, and for this 1 square meter area, and the change in depth is 1 meter. Okay, so the volume of water is collected. Okay, for changing this height, for changing this depth of 1 meter, okay, that volume, this volume which we removed, okay, we released, that is called storativity, or that is called storage coefficient. So storativity is nothing but the ability of an aquifer to store water. Okay, either we take out of this groundwater system, or we are releasing into the groundwater system. Okay, but change in depth, the change in depth, whether increasing or decreasing, change in depth 1 meter and the area is 1 meter, means we can say the volume is 1 meter cube. For this portion, the volume will be, for this portion, the volume will be 1 meter cube. Means for change in 1 meter cube of the volume in the aquifer, the water which is released or which is taken into the storage is called storage coefficient or storageability. Okay, so this dimensionless quantity involving a volume of water per volume of aquifer. The volume of water that an aquifer releases from or take into storage, okay, per unit volume of aquifer. Okay, volume of water per volume of the aquifer, either releases from or taken into storage. Okay, so here the storageability is nothing but the volume of water divided by unit area into unit of head change, or simply you can say the volume, unit volume of. Okay, now come to this unconfined and unconfined. Okay, for confined aquifer it is different, for unconfined aquifer it is different. For confined aquifer the drawdown is very high. Okay, means less water you will get per unit head change of head. So the storageability is less. Confined aquifer, the storageability varies from 0.00005 to 0.005. For unconfined, the storage coefficient is very high, that is 0.07 to 0.25. Okay. So here it's saying that in unconfined aquifer, the storage coefficient varies from 0.07 to 0.25 and approximates the specific yields water yielded from the saturated sand under gravity. Okay, in an unconfined aquifer, where no dewatering of the aquifer occurs, the volume of water released per unit decline of water table may be attributed to the compression of the water-bearing material and the expansion of the water itself. Means in confined aquifer, if we draw water, there will be more drawdown. Means for a particular constant drawdown, if you compare with the unconfined and confined aquifer, then the volume of water we take out of the this system will be less in this confined aquifer. The unconfined aquifer, more water you get per unit drawdown. Here here less water will get per unit drawdown. Okay, so for the confined aquifer, the storageability varies from 0.00005 to 0.005. Okay, here you can see in this figure describes the storageability or the storage coefficient of the confined and confined aquifer. Here you can see this unconfined aquifer, unit change in the in this head will get more water. Okay, here per unit change in this confined aquifer will get less water. Okay, so therefore this confined aquifer storage coefficient is less compared to this unconfined aquifer. Okay, so this is about the aquifer parameters. Okay, in next class we'll discuss about on the new topic. So this for this class this was. Thank you so much.